Hi, I'm Andre Stevens. I'm a principal engineer here at Rackspace. I'm going to take a few minutes to demo and showcase the Microsoft Cloud Platform and all of the scalability and functionality of this cloud. Let's get started. All right, hello. So I've been asked a lot, what is this thing called the Windows Azure Pack? What is this single pane of glass into a Microsoft Cloud Platform architecture? And so I want to take a couple of seconds just to really give a good illustration and go a little bit deeper into all of the aspects of the Windows Azure Pack. So the first thing I'll do is I'll start off with just the overall interface. The overall interface is something that you'll be very, very familiar with if you've ever used Microsoft Public Azure before. The interface was almost taken directly from there. Just a couple of features have been stripped down. So on the left-hand side, you'll see that you have the ability to spin up websites, virtual machines, isolated networks, the service bus messaging, SQL Server databases, and MySQL databases. And as just having this single portal into a private cloud, those are by itself some very, very powerful features. So let's take a moment to actually go down each one of the components and take a look to see what kind of features you'll get. So we'll start off with websites. With websites, you can go and you can quickly create just a generic website with no content, and you have the endpoints to upload and download your data. And of course, with this drop-down, you see there I'm attached to 2 different subscriptions. Then, of course, you have the ability to custom create, which is a little bit more than the quick create, because now you can also specify, should we create a database, and what database should we select, MySQL or SQL Server. My favorite features are always the items from the gallery. So going down the gallery item right now, you'll see it actually in the background, it pulls via the web platform installer all of the available offerings that's found normally in the web platform installer. So the traditional content management systems like Drupal, you have Joomla, WordPress, .NET Nuke, etc. So just knowing that this is a full Windows stack, let's go down and actually create a WordPress database, an entire WordPress site. So we'll call this WAP demo. And we're going to create a brand new MySQL database. We're going to keep all of the authentication settings the same because it's just going to go through to give everybody a good understanding on the power of this system. So WAP demo DB, WAP demo admin, perfect. Password is typed in. And so right now what it's doing, in the background we have this web farm framework. And this web farm, we have around 8 VMs running in this shared and isolated model. So it goes out to the web platform installer. It gets the latest version of this WordPress content management system. It also goes to the MySQL server. It creates a MySQL database. With that MySQL database, it does the work to pre-populate the database with the WordPress connection strings and all of the content from the WordPress installation. It does some light configuration work that says this front-end WordPress site is going to be pointing to this back-end MySQL database. And from there, in just a few seconds, we already have our website created. Inside that creation, you have not only the ability to say, hey, I can easily, quickly spin up a database, but now you also have the ability to see a dashboard, to see your performance utilization. You can monitor your alerts. So you can see it's just created, but you can see what kind of resource utilization information you can get from this architecture, as well as when you go down the monitoring stack, you can see your available metrics. You can see 501, 503, error messages, the works. My personal favorite feature on the website's cloud is the ability to scale your worker processes. So right now it was created with just one worker process running, but I can move the slider left and right and say, you know what? I need to go ahead and create 75 more worker processes to distribute the load across multiple shared virtual machines or even reserved virtual machines. That is the power of just the website cloud itself. We're going to skip over our virtual machines for right now because I would like to save a little bit of the best for last. As you notice, when we created that website, all that information we put in for that MySQL database, it actually shows up in the MySQL database tab. We can create new MySQL databases that are just standalone that you can use with your web servers, or if you want to really build your site from scratch, you can do that as well. Here's a wizard to go down the list and do that configuration, and the wizard looks exactly the same as the wizard we just went through, so I won't bore you to death with that. Underneath the SQL servers, same exact wizard. It's really nice that this actually will go and check and make sure that there's not a single other database with that exact name running. But fill out your credentials, and in seconds you'll have your SQL Server database. You have the ability to view your connection string information. You can resize, you can change the password, or of course you can delete your database straight from this website, which is just your really single pane of glass into your architecture. Your Service Bus, this is really used for your developers if they want to read and write messages to this namespace. Let's see, SB namespace. So, as I said, you have the ability to read and write to this namespace. So, if you have a set of applications that you just want all of your worker roles to look at one single location, or if you have to send a lot of high traffic, it becomes difficult to effectively scale your application and your workloads so they can take on these new messages. This service bus is right here, and it's a dedicated service bus, so you can create your queues, you can utilize, this is a dedicated service messaging layer. It's pretty awesome. Now, virtual machines, as I said, this is one of my favorite features, so I like to save the best for last. You have this wizard, this gallery role wizard that you can sit there and say, I want a SharePoint deployment, I want a link, Exchange, domain controller, SQL Server, the CentOS LAMP stack. Effectively, you put your application workload in this portal, and within this portal, you can deploy your application just by answering a couple of questions in a wizard. So let's take a look at a normal Windows deployment. We can call this our web server our web server role. From there, you have drop downs on your configuration. What type of VM do you want to build? How many resources do you want to assign? So we'll go with the extra large VM. What type of operating system do we want to deploy it as? If there's any additional data disk we need to add, your IPv4 or 6 address type. We already have our cloud network _v switch. We get to select and create our own unique administrator password and scale. So this is a role itself. What we're creating is not just a VM, but we're creating this container. Inside this container, we've selected for one initial VM to be created. Also, this container can go up to 5 VMs. For our initial instance count, instead of doing just one VM, we can actually do 3 VMs. And we submit the request, and it's going to go down and create 3 unique VMs with the same administrator password, but it's going to be built exactly the way we put it in the system. This right here is the absolute power of this Windows Azure Pack, of the single pane of glass architecture entering your environment. Thank you for taking the time to watch the demo. Hopefully it was able to answer any questions you may have had. For more information, please go to rackspace.com/Microsoft. We look forward to working with you in the future.